Welcome, Vandina Hassamal, to our show. We're very excited to have you today. Would you be able to just introduce yourself for our listeners today?
Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here and to be part of this Jewish family and to be part of the podcast. So I'm Vandina Chakowa Hassamal. I'm a mom of two. So my husband Ritesh and myself, we have a little girl. She's 6 years old, and we also have Rohan, who is 11. Rohan is from my husband's first marriage. So he lives with us every alternate weekends, and half of his holidays he's with us. Yeah. So he's really part of our family as well. I'm also head of supply chain in a private company today. Mm-hmm. So that's also a bit of a very tricky and hectic situation.
That keeps you very busy then.
Very busy, dealing with both work and family.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Hassamal, I've come to know you since Ridvi, you're now 6 years old, has been at Juxwich with us. And in fact, I've come to know you through your participation, and very active participation in our events. So you volunteered a lot, in sports days and for the show, etc., which was really amazing because I got to know you, the very happy person that you are. And the theme for our podcast this time it's happiness, and especially happiness at home. And so I was talking to Shannon, I said it would be great to get your perspective, and especially knowing your family background and what you're going through, etc. Do you think that it's important to be a happy mom?
First of all, thank you for thinking I'm very positive. So the image I'm projecting is actually very good. So being a happy mom, it's true that I've always been contributing. I've always been a bit of a hyperactive person, always wanted to do things like working and doing extra things. Like I would want to contribute to what Ridvi is doing and being part of it also at school. So that's why I'm always asking you, can I volunteer? Can I do this? Can I do that? So it's also in my nature to be always been participating in those things. And being a happy mom, I hope I am for Ridvi. So we try to encourage this type of thinking at home. So when we wake up, so everyone is happy, even if it's not always easy to be happy in the morning. So we try to cultivate this at home. And I think when you are happy, at this age, we will only imitate. Yeah. That's what we will do. Mm-hmm. And so this will definitely contribute to how she will grow up. So we tend to do many things. So after work, I do spend time with her. We'll be doing drawings, and for me, it's important to know what she's doing, but she knows that I'm here. So yeah, for me, being this happy mom does contribute to how it reflects to the child.
Yeah.
And therefore, do you think that happiness is an important thing to have, not just as a mom, but obviously for your child? And that's the reason why you put so much energy in making sure it happens.
I think it's crucial to be happy around children because they absorb everything. Because today we say, oh, let's let them absorb like new languages, music. But what's the fundamental? For me, it's like it's that inner peace, inner happiness. How they can be happy even if you're not there. So that create this own state of comfort within themselves. I think this is very important.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, something that you touched on before about your stepson coming from your husband's first marriage. It's a point of view that I think a lot of listeners will be interested to know that part of your journey. If you wouldn't mind sharing, what was it like for you dating Ritesh in the beginning? Because Rohan has always been there as part of your relationship.
It's true, it's not a very conventional dating situation, let's say. So when I met Ritesh, he already had his son at that time. He was 2 years old, and then we started dating like normal. We go to the bowling and cinema and all. He's like, and then when things started getting serious, and he was like, there's my son, and he set the boundaries very early for us. And he's like, Rohan will always be my priority because he's small. The situation is complicated, so my focus will be him. So the boundaries were set, so it was for me to take or not to take.
Yeah.
So I took.
Yeah. And we live in Mauritius, and there are a lot of families who would probably be a bit nervous about their daughter going into a relationship with someone who, what was that like for you? Did your family have anything to say about that?
It is very true. When I had to go and announce it to my mom, I was like very scared. I was like, what's she gonna say? What's she gonna say? But one element that's very important is that I'm the only child to my parents, and my mom. She was also divorced.
Okay.
When I was at the same age as Rohan, so at 1.
Okay.
So I grew up with my mom, for her being my role model. So when I went to her and I said, there's this guy and there's his son, and she told me, if you feel that you're gonna be happy in this situation, go for it. But I'm telling you, from now on, it's not going to be easy. But if you take the decision, you have to, assume.
Accept the challenges.
Yeah, you have to accept the challenges that goes with it, because it's not going to be a conventional way. So she that's the only thing she told me. She now it's up to you. You're big enough to decide what you want.
Yeah.
So she was very supportive, and then she understood what was going on for him.
Yeah.
Because with the challenges she had when she was the only mom.
Yeah.
Growing me up. So I think that contributed also to that. I didn't find it so weird to be with someone who had a child, because today my mom, she never remarried, and maybe that's something I would have wanted her to have. And when I was small, I was a bit selfish, it's my mom, so she had to be mine. And so it changed a lot of my perspective when I met him, because seeing what the importance he had for his son, and how was I going to step in, and how I shouldn't step in too much, because I wouldn't have wanted someone to come between the relationship I had with my mother.
Yeah.
So I tried to apply this to the situation.
And that's very interesting, and I think your mom, you described her as being very supportive, and I think that helped. But what about society at large? We live in Mauritius, and culturally, people talk a lot. There's a lot of, hearsay, and people have different versions of things. And so being part of that community, you're not sort of cut off from all that. Does that affect you in any way? Because for a lot of people, I have to say, their happiness lies in perceptions and what people perceive them to be. And when that happened for you, how did you deal with that?
I think when I was a child, and when we were talking about divorced parents, it was like a taboo. People didn't talk about it much. It was like, oh, you don't have a dad, where's your dad? Even kids at school, they can be kind of very nasty. But then now it's becoming more and more common. I think this is something that people will have to come up with, will have to deal with this type of situation. So there's something I've learned with my mom. She always told me, as long as I'm behind you, you don't have to look at what others are thinking. So if you think it's good, and I'm okay with it, so like whatever society will there's two parts of society. There's someone which is always going to criticize. Oh my God, you're having someone who's already have a child and all. And then there's the other side which would tell me that, you know what, he's been there, he's done that, so he'll be better the next time. And then, also when I had my daughter, I wasn't very at ease with babies and holding, because I've never been doing that. So when my daughter was born, for like the first week, I didn't touch the child at all. The baby, he did everything because he knew how to do it. He knew how to handle. He just gave me breastfeed and give him back to breastfeed and give him back. So that's this good part also about it. It's not always all negative because someone had a life before. Maybe best to look at what's the positive what you can get than the negative what you can get out of the situation.
Yeah,
so,
that's really, really amazing. Now, I had to ask you about the way that you parent Rohan as opposed to Ritvi. For instance, he will call you by your name, whereas Ritvi, I'm assuming, calls you mum. If he needs correction, if you're not happy about something that he's doing, are there boundaries in place for him as opposed to Ritvi?
Yeah, so the relationship I had with him was before Ritvi, so we have 6 years difference between the two of. So basically, I got to know him 4 years before my daughter came, And we created this type of very friendly bond between us, because he could come and confide to me. He will tell me things he does, not confide, but like sharing things, what his happiness, what he did at school, and all and everything.
He was open.
He was very open whenever he came to us. So we got this communication line between us. And when Ridvi was born, we knew it was going to be a change of paradigm for our family structure.
Yeah.
So we made sure that when Ridvi came, he wasn't feeling left out. So when the day he came to visit at the clinic, we made sure we had a gift prepared for him. So when he came, he said, "Oh, you know what? Ridvi is born, and then she got this for you," and the focus was him all the time. And the time I used to spend with him, I made sure I kept spending that time with him, because I didn't want him to feel left out, because I didn't want to feel left out if I was in the same situation.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to correcting, I have to say I have the easy role, because I'm the good cop.
Yeah.
I don't scold. I can tell him I'm not happy about something that happened, but the scolding part, I leave it to the dad, because this is not... So it's easier that way, because I didn't want him to have this, you're not my mom, so you can't correct me, or you talk in a wrong manner to me. So I don't deal with this type. I just say, you know what, I'm not happy. We'll talk about it when your dad comes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And Ritesh will do the rest.
Right.
The bad cop.
It happens to all families, right? I mean, children would always say to their parents, well, you prefer my sibling rather than me. You give X to my brother, but not to me. And so how do you deal with this situation when it comes to a blended family like yours? Is there always this kind of perception of favoritism? How do you avoid that happening when you have a blended family?
You will find this funny, actually, because you would think that Rohan maybe will feel left out, because Ridvi is always with us and all the time with us. But what happens is we make sure that all the special moments, let's say we'll go to the hotel, or we'll plan something, an outing, we'll always wait for Rohan to come. And the little one, being who she is, like a spoiled brat, she will be like, "Oh, it's always when Rohan comes. When Rohan comes, we will do this and that. Why is it always when Rohan comes?" So she will be the one more looking for attention. But Rohan, he understood the structure, so he will deal with it. And I think because she's a girl and he's a boy, it actually is the situation. So he instantly developed that protecting. As soon as she was born, he's like, "I'm the big brother, I have to protect her." And instantly, we didn't even talk about it, and he became very fond of her. And then that's the issue, because she got spoiled by her brother as well. So she actually would be very demanding with us, with him, even her brother. And then now that when they are both a bit more grown up, now Rohan would be like, "Yeah, but you can't always have what you want." So he's now setting the boundaries.
Something which I actually really love is that you always post family photos with the four of you. And I still remember when you did a Christmas tree, and it was quite a different one, and it was all four of you building it, and then in front of the Christmas tree, and that was really, really nice.
In fact, that Christmas tree is a tradition we started since we got married. So we were living in an apartment, and we're not gonna get like a real tree. So what are we going to do? And I'm like, I told Ritesh, he loves doing all this DIY and building, and he's very hands-on on those things. And let's do a DIY. So we did our first one, we did our second one, and then we started posting on social media. And then people started asking the following year. And the following year, and it became like, "Oh, when is your Christmas tree coming?" And we made a point to do the tree when both kids were there. So we wouldn't do the tree if with only my daughter, or if Rohan is not there. So we'll make sure it's that weekend that he's with us, that the tree is done, so that everyone participates to that. There's a lot of fighting, or let me do this, or let me do that, let me paint, or you don't know how to paint. But it's the whole fun of it, actually.
So actually, if we can touch on that, what are some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you deal with them?
when I met Rohan, and I had to do the effort to go towards him because I was new to his life, and I was meant to be in his life now, so I had to create a bond with him. So for me, who was not a very child-friendly person, I had to go, and it was a whole learning curve for me to know what he likes, what he doesn't like, what should I do. I think it was a blessing that Rohan came to my life, because I developed that kind of affection towards a child, and what was the happiness around a child. I'm not sure I would have wanted to have a child on my own if I didn't live that with him. Wow. So that was the first challenge, being able to communicate with him. Another challenge was the marriage, because he was present at the marriage, so I didn't know how would he react to it. So it went very fine. So we made sure he was surrounded by cousins, and when kids were surrounded with cousins, so everything goes with the flow. And when we actually lived together, that was because when he used to sleep with his dad whenever he came, and now I had to go to that bed, and he had to go to his bed in his room. So we had to actually find a new structure. So he had to understand that now he had to go to his room, and I had to go to my room.
Mm-hmm. Tell us, how did you go through that? Like, how was there any special tip or consideration given to make it happen?
I think with the kids, what we've always done with them is always telling them the truth. We've never treated them as kids and like they won't understand. No, we now we are married, so we'll sleep in the same room, and now this is your room. So Papa can come to your room and read you a story and be with you. It's fine, but you can't sleep in this bed with us. You can come in the morning and we can have a chat, we can talk and everything, but we will dissociate that. So I think the most important is we've always treated them as adults. Like we wouldn't put a lot of rounding around our words, and we'll be like, this is how it is, and do you have any concern about it? So we always treated them as
that's
humans
really
and not babies.
Yes.
Actually, sometimes people underestimate what children can handle, and so they try to kind of deflect the truth and come up with another story or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think children are resilient, and children can understand, and they will adapt. They will adapt to new situations if they're being told the truth.
It is the case, when even we go out with friends and who have kids and everything, and the other kids who not understand the situation, or will ask your mom, or give this to your mom, not knowing that I'm not his mom. So, and then I would look at his reaction, what does he say, and he would just keep quiet, and he will not go and argue or explain anything, and he will just give it to me or talk to me. So we can do a lot actually. They have this own brain for themselves. They can think of how to react in those situations. So I think this is a whole new world, because when I was when I was at school, or people will talk to me about my divorced parents, I would be very affected by it, because the situation was very different at that time. It was, like I said, a taboo, and people wouldn't talk about it, and people could be nasty, or like, you know what, I know you're of a parent, and I think now things are getting easier to talk, and this is something that's going to come.
Absolutely,
even more.
I think more and more. I mean, the divorce rates are higher worldwide, and I think it's something that it's important for people to be able to talk about, because just because people are divorcing doesn't mean that there are not still relationships happening, and having to learn how to negotiate those tricky ones, like building a relationship, however tricky, with Rohan's mum. I'm sure it's taken many years. How was it like to navigate that complexity when you were all over these years?
Let's say we always kept it as a very respectful way between both of us. So even when we talk about about her at home, we'll never say, oh, I'll never refer as Ritesh's ex-wife. It's always Rohan's mom. So it's easier. It makes things easier to talk. So let's say we're not particularly friends, but we do talk when it comes to the kids about if Rohan is not well, what medication to give him, or what do I think, or what does she think. So let's say we are very courtois.
Courteous.
I mean,
I think you mentioned also before that this necklace that you're wearing is actually a gift, and I think that's so sweet because I think as a child, Rohan surely appreciates that, you know, that the parents are trying their best to make it work, you know, and not to become enemies and whatever. And you want to share a bit about that, maybe?
Let's say when we started, it's true the situation was not always very easy. But then when Rohan came and it was Mother's Day, and I would help him do a card for his mom, or I would, even if it comes for Christmas time, I'm like, oh, you should buy something for your mom, and I'll get it for you, and you give it to her. So he has to understand I have nothing against his parents. Like, I'm here more as a friend. So we're not in a conflicting situation. And when he knows it's like this, I think every child who comes from a divorced family, they know how to navigate between both worlds, and they get the best of both worlds. Right. Because they know what they can get here and what they can do. They become very smart very early. I'm also talking by experience.
Say, you know, someone who is listening today is going through, you know, building a relationship with someone who has a past and potentially has children to a previous marriage. Do you have advice that you would pass on, something that you've learned or someone else has told you?
I'm not perfect in this situation, but I'm doing what I can with what I have. And I think what my mom told me, I think it was one of the best advice. She told me, you want to go for it, you go for it. If you think you're happy with that person, but know that things will not be easy. And it does happen that things are not easy, and I'll go and, Mom, this is bothering me. And she's like, I told you. You made the choice. But I think when you go in that state of mind, knowing that things will not always be smooth. But then also, what's normal?
Exactly.
It depends on where you put the cursor. So if you think this situation is normal or not normal, everyone has their own truth.
Definitely. So moving on to other things, we have really loved seeing you come up with creative things to be happy and to make your children happy and your family happy. And what's your source, of creativity? How do you come up with those things?
Let's say I've always been a very hyperactive person, since always. And I've always done a lot of things, like I did dance classes, I would do social groups, I would meet a lot of people, I would play tennis, I would be doing table tennis, I'm always doing something. Even when I'm watching TV, I have to do something at the same time. I'm like that hyperactive. So when the children came to my life kind of slowed down to the pace that I was. So I had to find something that I could make out of this situation that could bring me that type of happiness I used to have when doing many things. So I kind of use that energy and I put them in for the kids. So I always love all this DIY. So I'm like, why don't I do that with them? So even when Rohan comes or when Britvi, I'm like, we're gonna dance, we're gonna do bracelets, we're gonna do all type of things together. I think it's for my own sanity as well. Wow. I don't do it only for them, but for me also to have like, I'm feeling I'm doing something of my time. Wow. Because that's the worst feeling I have, like I'm wasting time or something.
Really?
So I think it's not only for them. I think I do it also for me. Let's say I used to do classical dance. I do Kathak, which is an Indian classical dance, which I used to do since college. So I stopped when after marriage, when you get into this whole new structure. And then 3 years back, I'm like, I want to go back. So I drag the little one with me, and so she comes. Even if she can't do, at least she's there. She's listening. She's hearing those things. So I try to merge my way of doing things with what I do with the kids.
That's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said that you also journal as well with Ritvi every day.
That's also something I do personally. Like I journal my day
Okay.
since forever. I hope my mom never comes to read one of those.
What will she find?
Since college, I journal my days, and this year I'm like, why don't I do it with Ritvi? She doesn't know how to write properly yet, so I'm like, you know what? Wait, I took a diary, and I'm like, what did you do today? And she was like, oh, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, and I did this, and I went to school, I did assembly, and today I was on the grade. You know, Mom, I did well. Miss Amira told me that I did very well. She showed my copybook to the class because I did so well. So it's one thing to know what she did the whole day, because for me also I think it creates that communication between us. But then what I want that to contribute is later on, at some point when she get in her teenage naughty years, she'll be able to write herself her emotions.
Yeah.
But then despite of just saying like, you know, I did this and I did that, I'm like, but when you did this, how did you feel? And were you happy? Were you not happy? And at the end, we do a special moment préféré, so her favorite moment. So I'm like, what was your favorite moment of the day? And she will tell me, oh, when I got a sticker at school, or when you came back, or when I went to do roller skating. She will tell me different. So maybe the next step will be what didn't you like today?
Yeah.
So because teaching happiness is also teaching, but there's the other side of happiness that will be have to manage throughout their life. So for right now was that happy environment that was created. I think the next step will be also telling that there is other side of a coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said in your introduction that you are a leader, a team leader, and I think you've got about 200 people that come under you. So that's a full-on job in itself. How do you find the time to be able to be so hands-on, you know, with the children? I mean, journaling takes time, effort, you know, patience, and surely that doesn't come easy. How do you strike that balance?
I have full days of work, and every day is new challenges, because when you deal with a lot of people, and I have to say that 250 people and 90% are men. So it's also like how you have to position yourself. How do people listen to you? How do people react to what you say? And when you come back home, you're absolutely drained. And I need that one moment when I get home, which like restable my day. I cook. I love cooking. And at that moment, I have to be in the kitchen and no one around me. Oh, I need to have that moment of restabilization before I could like. It can be just like 15 minutes, but I just need that moment. So yes, it does take time to do all these activities with them. We'll do board games. We'll do painting. We'll draw together. We're doing Spanish at the moment, and we're doing sign languages, all type of things. But I want her to know, because I only see her 3 hours a day. That's the only time I see my daughter during the week, and it's when you look at it, it's crazy, because I get home 6:30, and she's off to bed at 9. So only 3 hours per day I have with her. So for me, it's important that she feels that I'm there. And I'm not just bringing back all the issues I have from work. It's not always easy. I think this is like you can easily snap because you had a hard day. I don't say it never happens. It does happen. I'm human. And but the most important is that for that 3 hours, she knows I'm there, and that I'm focusing my time with her. Because afterwards she'll go to sleep, and then we'll see each other again for like 30 minutes the next day, because in the rush. Get up, brush your teeth, get ready for school, and I'm getting ready at the same time. So everything's hectic. So the only time we have is that 3 hours that we have, and that's why I try to maximize. I don't look at it as a burden or it's taking a lot of my time, but the effect, the negative effect it has on me though is when she has to sleep, I have to find time for me,
to continue
to my family,
work.
to my husband, and sometimes I have to continue work. So my day continues till like midnight, 1 in the morning. So I have to catch up on things. I have to plan the next day.
Yeah.
What are we going to do next day? What do I have to tell the cleaning lady to do? What do I have to cook the next day? So it's a whole another planning that starts.
But it's a choice that you've made, that those 3 hours I'm giving it to my child for those. We have 24 hours and I have 3 hours only with her. I'm a working mother. But it's true during the weekend though I try to spend more time with her. But then I think to keep also this sanity and getting back the energy, it's also important to have couple life, because you tend to focus everything around kids. And sometimes I'm like, you know what, you're going to nanny or you're going to daddy today, and we just Ritesh and I will go out for dinner like once a month. We try to make sure we have this moment for us.
Yeah, that's really great.
So I think it does help.
Yeah. I think something that you touched on about how you feel sad that there's only these 3 hours, but I think that those 3 hours that you're engaged with her and you're really there, like in the moment with her, I think that is far better than, say, if you had 6 hours and you were just kind of on your phone on the couch or something like that. It's like, because you are engaged and you're very purposeful about that, I think that's really, really cool.
If 3 hours, if there's also the eating, the changing, the brushing teeth, there's all this. And then I don't say that she's not, I don't let her give her screen time. I will lie. I'm like, I think like most parents today, just to have some peace, you were like, go watch TV or go watch YouTube. But then even if she wants to watch and she's like, oh no, I don't want to do drawing today. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? I'm just like, I want to watch TV. Okay, well, I'm like, okay. So I'll put something on TV that's interesting. At the moment we're doing sign language. And she's doing the whole alphabet with the sign language. It's crazy because at this age we learn so much. So this is, okay, we do something together, but then I'm like, can you imagine we go somewhere one day and then you're very far and I can talk to you and you'll understand what I'm saying? It's crazy, no? And she's like, yeah, let's learn. So it's always creating this purpose. And I think creating a vision and a purpose for a child is important at this age.
You want to talk about this book?
This
book of adventures that you've. So who's written the stories?
Ritesh has.
Okay.
And he came as a surprise. I didn't even know he was doing that, and I was so like
impressed,
emotional. And in fact, it's a small book with like 10-11 chapters talking about the different things that she does. She loves doing hula hoop. She will be doing katak with me. She will go roller skating now, but we've put her in a roller skating class. Her first day at school, who is Miss Amira, and her love for maths. All these things that are important to her, he actually written all this. And despite just being like a memory of who she, but not a memory, like one day she will look at it saying, oh, this is, Papa did that for me. I think the story in itself helps her project who we want her to be. So it gives her that perspective. I can be a hula hoop champion. One of the chapters, hula hoop champion. Today she just does hula hoop. And then we projected her being a champion one day, or being super fond of Miss Amira. She's always about Miss Amira. And and what about her pet? Because we have like unconventional pets. We have rabbits and we have a turtle. So we talk about that, and all this is in this book for her.
It's really special.
And you know what we also did since she was born? We have this email address that we've created for her, and we write her emails about special days. I remember her first sports day at Jukes Bridge, and she won the gold medal.
I remember that.
And And I was in tears. And I wrote her an email on that day because she was too small to understand what it is to get a gold medal and etc. So I wrote her a letter and like a mail and saying, you know, today what happened, Papa and I, we were so proud of you, and we shared the news to the whole family. And one day I gave her the password to that email.
Yeah.
And we put all her photos, because today if all those photos will finally disappear. You don't even know how many photos you have. You don't create photo albums and all. So all this is contributing to I hope one day she'll be happy about all that.
Yeah, I'm sure she will.
So do you feel that it's important to create those moments, or do you feel that happiness is something that can be natural and it just comes naturally?
I think at this age, kids have more to, they are the one who should be teaching us happiness, because we adults, we're always taken with our own stress and days and worries and all, and they are 24/7 happy. They're always happy. Even when they're happy we're doing something bad, they are happy about it, and we scold them. So I think kids are naturally well surrounded in a good environment. Kids are naturally happy. I think it's a two-way. So even when I'm at work or something is bothering me, I give her a call. I know she's coming back from school at that time. Every day she has to call me, and this is my happy moment of the day.
Oh, wow.
Every day she will call me. I know 3:15 I'll have a call from her. I keep my phone with me. Even if I'm in a meeting, I'll go out of the meeting and I'll talk to her for like 2 minutes, and she'll tell me quickly like, oh, I did this, but now I'm busy, I'll talk to you later. Like, okay. So I think it's a two-way traffic, this happiness. I think it's not always the parents that give this happiness. I think the child brings a lot of happiness to a family.
A lot of people might look at you and might feel intimidated, because not everyone is like just creative and comes up with those things to, you know, keep the children busy and happy and having fun together. And so for these people, what would your advice actually be? Because I ask you, where do you source that creativity and that energy that you have? And so what would your advice be to those people that say, I don't have that, it doesn't come naturally to me?
I Google a lot. I Pinterest what are the activities I can do, what are the science experiments we can do with kids, or we can do a new thing now, we're doing those charade with the kids. So all this doesn't come naturally to me, like, oh, I know we do this and that. So I also read a lot about activities, what can we do with kids. Simple things like just a carton and they'll make a castle out of it, and they'll draw on it, they'll paint on it, we'll do windows out of it. So I think, as I said, this happiness that they have is just not for them. It's also, it makes me happy to see them happy. So really, it's that two-way traffic.
Right.
So for the parents, I think, Google a lot, read, or maybe talk about two of parents. I think this is something that's lacking, because I don't know, Mauritius is a bit of a competition time. So I won't ask you because of some kind of
maybe I feel
ego.
inadequate that, you know, I'm asking you because I don't know how to do it myself.
But we are all in the same basket. We're all doing the same mistakes. We're all having our own troubles, and maybe someone else has managed to overcome one trouble, but we haven't found a solution. So maybe if like we could talk, but unfortunately it's a very competitive society that we're living today, which people don't ask for help or so maybe we should do that at Jokesfish, create a parent platform.
We'll take that on board.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much. We've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure that so many people who are listening to this will be really finding some absolute gold in what you've been sharing. I think people will take away a lot of it, and I think so many people will be helped through this conversation.
Thank you.
And keep being a role model and keep spreading the happiness, because I think you're an inspiration to many of our listeners today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. Thank you very much, Shana and Rishi, for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I'm also having shivers talking about all this, because I didn't think people would think that of me, because I just do things not for others would think, and just for this happiness moment. So yeah, thank you for letting me share all this with you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.